What is up, everyone? Um, yeah, this this freaking sucks. Like, no intro needed because,
Yep.
like, and also I'm also eating a little bit, but man, we already getting some comments now at this point.
Who's Micah Parsons? Like, who is he?
I mean, clearly we don't know who that is because we're not. He's not a bear, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I guess if we can address the elephant in the room, this is an emergency podcast, and a big trade happened a couple hours ago, and it resulted in the division, the NFC North specifically, getting a little bit tougher. Yeah, that's just it. But before we get into that, what is up, guys? Welcome back to Sobacksports, and we're so back with another episode. And today we're going to be doing our reactions to, oh my God, to Micah Parsons becoming a Green Bay Packer. And like at the end of the day, it's what is Jerry Jones doing? I mean, let's start with our guests below. We have Advait Kumar down below, and we have CV on the other end. We obviously have our co-host SlashingGotNext as well, or Ankit. Who wants to start with their reactions? Because I bet you guys have a lot to say at this point.
Oh, I think you're mute, Kumar.
you're on mute. You're on mute. Or your mic's not working.
All right. Well, while he gets it, CV, do you want to go next?
Yeah, you go first. Yeah.
All right. This sucks. Obviously, for a lot of reasons, and I could literally be here for hours talking about why this is terrible. As a Bears fan, we're probably the ones suffering the worst from it. I mean, you would think about the Lions; they're still good. They got really good offensive line. Vikings still really good. Have a great head coach and everything. It's the Bears, man. Like, I mean, this is our arch nemesis. We, aside from the Cowboys, we're the biggest losers of this trade, and we're not even involved. We're not, or at least directly involved. And This was, and this sucks even more because we are lacking edge rushing, specifically depth, but also really starting because I'm not a big fan of Deo Dangbo. Like, I'm sorry, even when we signed him, I had to kind of be talked into it. I know he's that Dennis Allen build, but that game against the Chiefs, and I get it's preseason, but Josh Simmons looked like a Hall of Fame. Like, he looked like Anthony Munoz or Joe Thomas against freaking Deo. Like, he was not moved at all. You look at the highlights, just stonewalled. It looked like some college player going to play against like some top tier NFL starter. It was insane how well Josh Simmons was doing against Deo. And now Josh Simmons could be really good, but we need help. And this was the perfect opportunity to go get help. And I know a lot of people were saying that they didn't want to trade for him because they didn't want to have to mortgage our future on, Micah Parsons, on hoping Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson works out. And I understand that because we still haven't seen for sure if Ben Johnson's a good coach and if Caleb's going to be that franchise guy, that generational hype. But for 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark, are you kidding me? You couldn't outbid that? I'm sorry. We're just talking about Micah Parsons here. I would understand if that was the offer for Trey Hendrickson because he's older. We don't know how many years of good football he's got left. This is Micah Parsons. He's 26 years old. I mean, he's a 2-time All-Pro. He was just drafted in 2021. Like, where was the issue? What about that was too much for you? You can't get rid of literally anybody. If I had to think about what the Bears equivalent, to that was, 2 first-round picks and Grady Jarrett, 2 first-round picks and Andrew Billings, as much as I would love Andrew Billings on my team, you mean to tell me that you wouldn't take Micah Parsons to have, or take getting rid of, Andrew Billings or Grady Jarrett from Micah freaking Parsons? Are you dead ass? I mean, come on, right?
I don't think.
I'm very upset at how this turned out for us. I'm really upset at Poles because I really think it's just more so the fact that he went to the Packers. Had he gone to the AFC or just literally really anybody outside the division, I wouldn't have cared. And it's just like whatever. But you let your most hated rival get arguably the best player at that position. And that just absolutely ruins it for Bears fans, for the division that's already competitive as is. And the Packers were my pick, honestly, to be fourth place in the division, but I don't think so anymore. Not with Micah Parsons now. So I'm not going to take too much time on that. We'll come back to other questions, but that's pretty much what I have to say for that for now.
All right, Kumar, do you want to go next? You got your mic fixed?
Oh, do we lose both people?
Oh, I guess both.
I got double whammy.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, I guess I can go. If we can look at this comment here, did the Packers or the Cowboys win that trade? I think resoundingly it was the Green Bay Packers winning this trade. Like, there's no way you can spin it. No matter how delusional you are as a Cowboys fan, you cannot spin it in a way that can make the what is it called? The Cowboys win this. Like, the fact that, Jerry Jones originally had the contract out there for, I guess they'll join back soon.
Yeah.
But they had the contract out there for about, I think, $200 million over a course of 6 years or something like that. Some insane number on the contract, which, to be fair, is a good contract. And Micah, the issue with the whole situation with Jerry is that Jerry wanted to only negotiate with Micah Parsons and not his agent. And that was a big no-no when it comes to especially negotiations within the NFL nowadays, because that's just not how it works. It doesn't work like the old days where you would go in and negotiate with the player front on. Nowadays, people have their own agents. They have their own agencies that they're a part of that have to go through these process of bureaucratic processes and stuff like that to be like, to create these deals. Oh, I guess he's back. There he is. Okay, perfect. But I just think that, going back to the trade offer and the deal itself, 2 first-round picks, and a player, and is that it? That was pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
And 120 million fully guaranteed, as well, with 188 million for 4 years. That in itself is a bargain, like a generational bargain. Like what your point is, CV. It was, I would have done that if I were the Chicago Bears. I would have done that trade easily. Like, that's nothing. Like, compared for Micah, like, that's nothing. And it just infuriates me sometimes because, like, yes, I agree. Ryan Poles, when it comes to spending money and all that stuff, it's not like the most ideal situations where he goes out and gets the player, makes the big splash. When he does that, it's usually for players like Chase Claypool, or, I mean, right now, and especially the deadline, Montez Sweat. Like, yeah, they're like, at the time it made sense, but like, they're not like, you're certified, you know exactly what you're getting. Like, even Montez Sweat, we knew what we were getting, but it was like a big question mark as well at the time. But going back to the trade again, it's insane that Jerry Jones went out there and thought this was a good trade offer. And I guess it just shows how bad the situation was between Micah's camp and Jerry Jones in general, that they kind of essentially forced the trade out and got whatever they could. But anyways, enough of me talking. Let's get Kumar in this conversation right now. Kumar, what are your thoughts on this whole trade? And, give us their spiel and your rundown.
Yeah. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
First of all, I'm going to address the comments. Thank you. Congratulations, first of all. Secondly, we will talk at our next meetup. But that being said, yeah, I mean, I can't really describe the feeling because I've been hurt by the Bears so much that this kind of feels like a blur. It doesn't really hurt that much considering what we've dealt like in the past, and it sucks. It hurts to see, Micah Parsons go to like our biggest rival, that being the Packers. And I can't describe, how much it hurts. It just doesn't hurt as much as it would, now that I'm kind of used to the pain. But I think if there's one sober lining in all of this, it's the fact that the Packers are going to be dead to rights when it comes to their cap. And me and my friend were talking about this. He's also a Packers fan. His name is Coven. So I'll be watching this, Coven. Shout out to you. But we were talking about this, and the Packers have four wide receiver ones, and now they're not going to be able to pay at least one of them because of this. They're not going to have 2 first-round picks, and I think that if what we are seeing about the Bears has been so as hyped up, and we have nothing to worry about. I think that Ben Johnson is a guy that's going to be able to scheme properly and look at, hey, okay, we got Mackay. How can we scheme around him to really prevent kind of what he did and kind of take a book from what the 49ers did and just find a way to shut his production down. I'm glad that it happened. If there was going to be a big trade like this to our team, like the Packers, I'm glad it happened under Ben Johnson because if there's anyone that can scheme around him, it's going to be Ben. But there's no doubt in my mind at the end of the day that this does suck and it hurts so much. But I don't think, the Bears were going to do this trade at the end of the day because of how strapped we were for cap and how much, we're screwed at cap. Because we decided to draft Dale for some reason. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. Just hurts.
I agree. Like, it does suck that it happened to be a divisional rival at the end of the day. But, from the Packers' perspective, like, they, why wouldn't they go for such a deal especially at a time when Jerry is such, like, a big question mark when it comes to, his decision making. They took full advantage of that. And I think, that ended up with them getting Micah Parsons at the end of the day. And I mean, from the Dallas Cowboys perspective, like, imagine telling Dallas fans in general, like if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, a Dallas Mavericks fan, that this year, two of your teams will lose their best player, or like they're one of their best players on the team. And one was Luka Doncic early in the season, and now Micah Parsons. And while maybe you may say that, it's not apples to apples, but at the same time, it's still, it's kind of crazy that it happened to both Dallas teams. And now the Dallas Cowboys now, their defense is in flux now at this point. And it's not that good, especially. And it kind of puts into perspective how well they can really do this upcoming season because their offense is decent, but their defense, will take a step back because you have, the D line isn't necessarily as strong as advertised with Micah Parsons. And now 2, you have Matt Eberflus as your defensive coordinator. So, I mean, there's really no pressure in the first place. So even if you had Micah Parsons, he's probably not going to get like to the quarterback as in terms of Flus's scheme at the end of the day. I think he was just so sick of the hits principle that he decided to bounce at that point as well. But yeah, if we look at the trade itself, Kenny Clark as well is going to be a Green Bay Packer. And listen, Kenny Clark had his days back in the day, but at the same time, it's like, especially coming off a relatively bad season, like, why would the Packers go for Kenny of all players? It doesn't really add up either. And another person, some guy named Dave mentioned about Zadarius Smith being an option now.
Something.
What are your guys' thoughts? Ankit, let's go with you. Let's hear your thoughts on this because we have limited options now.
I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. You want me to talk about Zadarius, or you want me to talk about like the Parsons trade?
I mean, Zadarius or whatever you want, honestly.
All right. So I was just gonna ask because okay, so back to like CV's point before. You said you would have done like Grady Jarrett and 2 firsts for Parsons. I just disagree with you there because I don't think Grady Jarrett and Kenny Clark, as much as I don't like Kenny Clark, are the same player. I think Kenny Clark, I mean, he's had really good seasons as a defensive defensive lineman. He had 7 sacks, I think, last year. I mean, the year before this year. And he's a Pro Bowler. He's been a really, really good player for the Packers. So I don't think him and Grady Jarrett are in the same level. And also, Grady Jarrett is like, 32, 33 years old. But I understand what you're talking about, like giving up 2 first-round picks. The reason why I agree with Advait here is not like giving up 2 firsts. Like I feel like Ryan Poles would not have done this trade because you don't want to mortgage your future when you have an uncertainty on the team. Because obviously this is the first year of Ben Johnson and Caleb as like a regime together. And you don't know how it's gonna work. Like obviously we have a lot of expectations. I think it's gonna be really good, but we don't know yet. And I just don't think that you make the splash move. And also you got to give him $47 million. And put this into perspective. He's getting paid more than Patrick Mahomes. Like that's actually crazy. As a non-quarterback, he's getting more. I
mean, there are a lot of players that are getting paid more than Patrick Mahomes.
I get that. No, I get that. But like as an edge, like not even a quarterback. Like I'm fine with quarterbacks, but like $47 million for Micah Parsons, as good as he is a lot of money. Like it's crazy amount of money. And also, I don't know. He's probably going to be a really good player for the Packers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not coping. I'm just saying that I'm fine with us not making that move in mortgaging our future. And I think for the Cowboys perspective, I think this is a really good move for them because, yes, obviously you want to keep Micah, really good player. But if he does not want to play there, you might as well get some players that will want to play for your team. And Kenny Clark is going to be there. And also, you have 2 first-round picks, and first-round picks are very valuable in football. So, you get these picks. It can help you. Obviously, I think the Cowboys are not going to be that good this season, and their defense is going to be really, really bad. But I don't think it's that bad of a trade. Like, I don't think it's a terrible trade in my opinion. Like, getting 2 firsts in football terms is crazy. Like, and here's a question I want to ask you guys. Do you guys think that when we traded for Khalil Mack, he was a better player than Micah, or do you think Micah is a way better player than Khalil?
When we traded him, better. Mack was better, hands down.
Mack was better. Okay, so
because
when we gave Mack, right? Wasn't it 2 firsts, a third, and a sixth, right? I think that's the trade.
Something like that, yeah. Right? We got Mack in a second.
Yeah, and then like Kenny Clark is like worth like what, like a third or 4th round pick. Like I think it's like kind of an equal kind of trade that we like the Mack trade in
4th round, especially after coming off a pretty bad season. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, he's still a good player. He also has had a little injury. Like he's still a Pro Bowl caliber player.
But that also you got to also take into account the injury as well. Like you can't just like ignore that too. That also devalues him as well.
I think his 3rd or 4th round pick is not a terrible comp just because like if you really think about what 3rd or 4th round players actually turn into, like if your 3rd or 4th round pick turns into like what Kenny Clark is now, that's kind of what you would expect out of a player. So I kind of do see his point. So it's around that. It's not it's not like it doesn't have to be exact, but I see the point.
No, and then I'm saying I like just to go with the point of Zadarius Smith. Yeah, I think anybody will help with our defensive line. I feel like Montez Sweat, he's a known commodity. We know how good he is. I think just getting another edge, like hopefully Dangbo, whatever. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. Will be that guy to be the 1-2 punch. But if he's not, maybe go get Zadarius Smith. I don't know who else is available. Like
Zadarius Smith, really.
That's it. Matthew Judon's anymore.
Honestly, Zadarius. I mean,
that means he'll complete the gauntlet. He'll complete all 4 NFC North teams. It will be the last one.
Why not?
That'd be fun, dude.
And then here's my thing. Like you said about the Dallas teams, like I was just thinking about that because obviously, my friend David, he's a Cowboys and Mavericks fan. The thing is, at least the Mavericks, when they traded Luka Doncic, they got 2 firsts and they got Anthony Davis, who's worth like, I know this is basketball. He's worth like 3 firsts or like 2 firsts, like actually, because he's a top 10 player in the league. The Cowboys, they got 2 firsts. Yeah, he's a top 10 player. Okay, they gave up 2
back in like in 2020, maybe. Yeah.
No.
Anyways, that's not here nor there. That's here nor there.
He's still like top 10 player, but I'm saying they gave up 2 firsts, and then they gave up for Kenny Clark, who, in my opinion, I mean, I don't even know if he made the NFL top 100. I don't think he did, but he's not even a top 100 player. So I don't think they're apples to apple. And also, the Mavericks also got Cooper Flag. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, it's not that bad of a trade. But I'm just saying, like, for the Cowboys' perspective, they have to hope that they nail these next 2 picks that they have in this upcoming draft because the picks are not going to be good because the Packers will be good. So they have to nail these picks, man.
So that's my point then. Yeah, because we talk about like only 2 first-round picks. Those picks are going to be between picks 24 and 32. Hopefully not 32 because that would mean they win, but it's going to be pretty bad. And the drop off after top 10 is between like top 10 pick and bottom 24. It like even like the reason why I would have been fine with that with our trade for Parsons is, I mean, you put Micah Parsons on the Bears, you're talking about being a contender, and our pick would be that high of a pick. We want to say, we want to keep our first round picks. That's cool. Yes, maybe we do find a Micah Parsons in next year's draft if we draft an edge. Maybe. How likely is that going to happen? That is, Micah Parsons is a one of a kind. Mind you, he played off the ball linebacker in college and then transitioned to a defensive end where he found, basically like just being elite there. And he can also play off the ball. You look at guys like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson, they exclusively rush the passer.
Right.
This guy is a different breed. That is why I wanted him Chicago. And a lot of people want to reference Khalil Mack's trade. That was a good trade. To this day, I will never fault Ryan Pace for making that trade. It was the correct decision. It's just you don't have the 2 most important pieces, which is head coach and quarterback, correct. So yes, I understand why they may not want to make that move right now because of the unknowns, and that's fine. But when you allow a team like the Packers, and this wasn't like out of the blue too, it wasn't like you woke up today and you're just like, oh shit, it's the Packers. Out of nowhere, like that was the one and only team really that anyone took serious as a trade candidate for like the past month now. And so it's like, okay, and Brian Poles has got to be more plugged in than any one of us. So if we're able to figure out the Packers are, going after this guy, imagine how much he knows, so it's like, why aren't you doing what you can, or at the very least, try to drive up the price. Even if you're not actually super serious about trading for Micah Parsons, be like, hey, what are they offering you? They offered you this or whatever. Cool. We'll go higher. See what, like, even a little bit higher. Make the, like I said in one of my previous videos, I would have loved if Ryan Poles would have baited the Packers into giving up 3 firsts. Like, obviously that would have been crazy. But if that happened, like, I was waiting for the trade terms to come out. And if they had said anything about 3 first-round picks, I don't care what the rest of the trade package would have looked like. I would have laughed my ass off. Because I'm like, you just mortgaged your entire future for Jordan freaking Love. And I think about, like, 2 first-round picks. Obviously, like, you're not worried about 2028 or whatever. But, I mean, you're in a gauntlet of a division. This game comes down to the wire. We faced them late in the season. These wins right here, where we could probably, like how Slashing said, how we were going to sweep them, and now we split the division. What if that one win is the deciding factor with our wild card spot? So it's like the only sort of light that I can see out of this trade, out of the Bears end, maybe, is if the Cowboys game wasn't a victory enough, it probably is now for the Bears, considering they have, in my opinion, and I said it to my coworker earlier, I'm going to say it right now, they have a worse defense in the league. Even worse than the Bengals. I know a lot of people
are Saints.
Even worse than the Saints. Yep. They don't have anybody. I'm looking at their depth chart right now.
Saints defense is like that.
Their Saints are, I mean, we don't know with, Dennis Allen being out of there.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys and I'm looking at their depth chart right now, first off, we talk about Osa I'm not even trying to say that last name. That's their best defensive player. He's solid, but once again, kind of like Kenny Clark, he's not that guy that you want taking up all the attention and he's still going to make plays for you. He's the guy, he's the type of guy where if you have another guy like a Micah Parsons, which is probably the reason why he's viewed the way he is now, because everyone is putting their attention towards Micah Parsons, leaving him on more one-on-ones. Now he's not going to have that. Now he's going to be expected to take on that sort of Micah Parsons attention role as a defensive tackle, which doesn't get to the quarterback anyway. And you got to rely on Kenny Clark, on Dante Fowler Jr. You kidding me? On Marshawn Nealand. I know they got what's his face, Demarion Overshawn. He's still dealing with the ACL injury. Peyton Turner's on IR. James Houston's a whatever pick. They don't have anybody. At least the Bengals have Trey Hendrickson. At least they drafted Shamar Stewart, who, I mean, wasn't great in college, but, he's a first-round rookie for a reason, so maybe he'll be decent. And, of course, not taking all the attention like Trey Hendrickson. Their secondary is okay. They got Deron Bland. They got Travion Diggs. Malik Hooker's. I'm not really a big fan of Malik Hooker. They got our preseason legend, Reddy Stewart, in the nickel corner, but
Yeah.
you got Matt Eberflus at defense. You got Jack Sanborn. Like, I love Sanborn, dude. But these are players. They have a bunch of players that require other top-tier players to elevate them. They are not going to elevate the team by themselves. They are fillers. We had some players like that on the team a few years ago, and they came from good teams, and they were like, okay, well, if they signed to the Bears, maybe they'll do something. People were, 2022, people were trying to hype up Byron Pringle because he did go with the Chiefs, and I'm like, well, that was with Mahomes. We got St. Brown. He, wasn't even that good, but he was with Aaron Rodgers. So, you're going from that to Justin Fields. At that time, it's just like, what are you doing here? Your team is done. You're first off, not to go off a tangent here. Dak Prescott fantasy to the moon. They're the new Bengals.
Yeah.
I've been going crazy with Dak Prescott. He's gonna be my QB1, bro. He's gonna be passing for so many yards.
Wait, what kind of injury did he have last year? Was it ACL or was it what kind of injury?
Tore his hamstring, I thought.
I think it was like a hamstring injury, but
hamstring
I'm not
injury?
too worried about that, dude.
Yeah.
He tore his hamstring.
I'm not too worried about that. He'll be
it's not
fine.
that bad.
But to Slashing's point
crazy.
too, I was saying earlier too.
It's
trade the dude, trade Dak Prescott, get yourself another first. Like, they need to commit to the full rebuild at this point. Kind of like the
they're
Saints.
not going to.
I know
They
they won't.
can't,
They won't.
though.
They won't.
No, wait.
But
You can't.
I'm
You can't trade Dak. He has a no trade clause, and also that contract.
God.
Like no one.
Well,
No, yeah,
shit.
and
Well, that's true.
$60 million a year. Yeah, exactly. Like, no one's going to take on that
The
contract.
no trade
unless-
clause is crazy, but
Yeah.
no, yeah. I mean, well, then then also the George Pickens trade makes no sense either. So it's like, what were you doing?
I mean, it kind of does.
I mean, not if you're trying to make a playoff push. That's a move you make to try to elevate your team, and then you take like a 1 step forward, 5 steps back. Jesus Christ, I
Right.
almost knocked anything over.
But I thought they got Ezra or whatever, like that guy. I heard he was pretty
Mhm.
good, like the guy they drafted. So maybe they're banking on him being really good. I mean, I don't think the Cowboys are gonna be so bad next year. I think they're gonna be
I think
decent.
they are.
Like
Their
I think they're
defense
gonna
is
be-
bad.
they're gonna be like 8-9 next year. Like this isn't
Oh.
terrible, but like
I wouldn't even
last
say
year they had
8-9.
so many injuries, and with Cooper Rush. Okay, but last year with Cooper Rush, they won games and they went like 7-10.
I
like-
don't
Like,
know.
the team will still.
The thing is, I don't like their
Yeah, see, 11
defense is
George-
what the defense is what really concerns me. And the thing is, like, listen, you may think that the Giants aren't that great. Like, as a team overall, like they have improved, like very under the radar team. And let's talk about that division first, because like you have the Eagles, obviously Super Bowl champions, got more improved, especially during the draft and the trades that they made more recently. And then you have the Commanders, who they have not like they're the same relatively. They got a little bit worse maybe, but at the same time, they're still going to be relatively fighting for that division spot or the second place at least. Then Cowboys and then the Giants. But the Giants, I think, like in terms of a well put together team, that Giants defense, if you look at it, it actually is pretty good. Like it actually could make make regular offenses like crumble a little bit, especially with Abdul Carter, Brian Burns. That defense that they've been building up over the course of a couple of years now. And you have to also keep in mind that their offense, obviously the quarterback room is a big question mark, but their offense with Brian Dable, who's trying to fight for his job at this point, is going to pull out all the strings and all the maneuvers to, make this offense hum. But I think, that's going to be a big question mark and big problem for the Cowboys going forward, because they have to fight them too. And that's not an easy opponent anymore. Like none of their divisional opponents in my eyes, for the Cowboys' sake, are an easy opponent. It used to be
Dak
it used to be
the Giants.
He owns the Giants, but like who knows now? Like especially
Okay, like come on, they're not that bad. Like I get it, they lost Parsons, they're not that bad. Like,
I mean, like, yeah, they're not that bad. I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying
know
they're going to
we
have a lot more tough time than they used to, like to beat the Giants
sure.
now.
So
for sure, but like they don't have offense. The Giants don't have an offense.
No, they do.
That's
They
the
have a
problem.
decent run game. They have a really decent run game and a relatively
running
decent
back?
offensive line.
Wait,
I mean,
Tyrone
Tyrone Tracy, once they get Cam Scatterbo going, he'll probably be good too. Like, You have a decent amount of stuff.
I
to
think
work
I
with.
think it'll still be a
Okay.
battle between those two teams, but I think what they did on the defensive line, the game is one and done in the trenches, and right off the bat, Giants win that off the
Yeah.
trenches. Like that's gonna be the difference maker. And
Okay.
when you think about like what their record is gonna be, yeah, they're not gonna be like a 2-win team. They're not like the 2022 Bears or anything, but like I think about it like this, right? I compare this defense right now, on paper at least, to what the Bengals looked like last year. Maybe a little bit better, maybe around the same. I don't know. But the thing is, injuries happen. So imagine, you lose Osa, you lose, or Deron Bland or Trayvon Diggs or Malik Neighbors or Malik Hooker or their rookie, whatever. You're looking at a pretty bad defense. And if you look at the Bengals last year, who had one of the top offenses in football, Joe Burrow would have won MVP had he been on literally any other team that would have made the playoffs.
Right.
And they went 8-9, I believe, 9-8,
9-8.
9-8, with playing MVP level football. And we know Dak Prescott is nowhere near as good as Joe Burrow. And CeeDee Lamb's a good receiver. I don't think he's as good as Chase. That defense is terrible. 9-8 is, I know we're an offensive league nowadays. You got to have some sort of defense to match up with that. The thing is, Micah Parsons wasn't just one player. He affected the entire team, and especially specifically the D-line. And as to my point earlier, it allows a player like Osa to get, more opportunities one-on-one since that attention is not on him. This is the whole reason why we want to trade for Parsons in the first place, because we know a guy like Montez Sweat is a much better player than 5.5 sacks. We know that he can do much better than that. He's led the season before. He was the first player in NFL history to lead 2 franchises in sacks. Like, that is not an easy feat to do. He's a great player. He's not elite, but he's a good player. But when you don't have anybody to help you out, all of a sudden he looks very average. And we know that he's better than that. And with Micah Parsons, you could look at Montez Sweat as having a 10-plus sack season. You would have 2 edge rushers fighting for 10-plus sacks. So now this team has nobody really to elevate the other players around you. And you're just kind of sitting there like, okay, who's going to step up? And even if they do step up in a way, sure, just because, who else? Someone, I guess just out of luck, someone's going to step up and on a 53-man roster. But not on the level of Micah Parsons, unless Donovan Ezeraku, whatever his name is, unless he somehow becomes Micah Parsons, which, technically is possible, but are we really counting on that?
Right.
I just don't see it happening, man. I think for what the direction, I think if they were trying to rebuild, if there was a certain sense of direction going for Jerry Jones, I could see why. And it's not, on paper, it's not terrible, to get rid of a player for a bunch of draft cap. I really just, 1, should have traded to an AFC team. 2, should have gotten more draft capital. Simple. I think those 2 things, had he gotten 2 firsts, a second even, and maybe like Rashawn Gary or Xavier McKinney, then yes, I would have been like, okay, you know what? I can see what you're doing here. You go ahead and use those picks to do something good with. Maybe you even package those picks. I even heard what Jerry Jones recently just said. He's not ruling out packaging the picks he got to make his team better, which I don't know how he's going to do that. Leave it to Jerry Jones to try to figure that one out. He's probably going to trade 2 firsts for freaking, who knows, like somebody we don't even know about. But I don't see the direction he's going. That's the problem. When you make a move and there's no clear sense of direction, that's a problem. So it's like when at least with the Panthers, when they traded for their first overall pick for us, you knew what the direction was. Like, yeah, you gave up a haul, but if Bryce Young turns out to be a good quarterback, and we saw towards the end of last season starting to catch a little bit of fire, even outplayed CJ Stroud a little bit towards the end of that last season. If he's built off of that momentum and with Tedero McMillan and the rest of the team and with Dave Canales in year 2, all of a sudden that trade doesn't look too bad. You see the vision. This has no vision whatsoever. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see a vision at all.
Yeah, there was never any vision. Like, there was not.
You can't.
I just think it's just Jerry. Jerry has an ego. Obviously, no one's bigger than Jerry in Dallas. So it's just a mishandle of this whole situation. He just should have paid him. I mean, honestly, he did pay him, but he didn't include the agent, so which is kind of weird. In that case, but I just think that here's what I think. I think the Cowboys will still be a competitive team next year. I don't think that they're going to win 12 games like they normally do, or like, 10 games or something. I think there will be a competitive 7-10 team. Obviously, I do agree with you. There's no direction in that because, you're not going to have like a crazy pick. But I think that having these picks in the first round with the Packers, even if it's a 24-32 pick, like you said, I still think that's very valuable in the NFL, getting late round picks, because we've seen a lot of them hit in the first round. Like a lot of first rounders do normally hit. So the first rounders will definitely help this team. But I'll say this: whenever I think Jerry Jones cares more about drama than actually winning football games. And when he leaves is when the Cowboys will actually start winning and being a successful. Sorry, they already are a successful organization, but like more of a serious organization in the past, in the past century. They've not been serious. They haven't even been to the NFC Championship in like 25 years. So they'll start winning more games when he's not there, but obviously that's just not a conversation for now. He's definitely going to still keep the team. There's no chance he, gives it up. He's making millions and billions of dollars with the team. So, yeah, I mean, again, now going to the Packers side, I think, the Packers are going to be fine. They're going to be a really good team next year. But it all depends on Jordan Love too. I mean, the defense can do a lot, but Jordan Love can't make these like dumb turnovers, like he normally does. Like he can't rely on that. He has to actually play pretty good football, which we've seen him do in the latter half of the season in 2023. So if he can do that for the Packers, I mean, the sky is the limit. I hate to say it, but the sky is the limit for the Packers. I can see the team going 13 wins next season. They're very well coached, like you said before. And, I think it's, we finally beat the Packers and now they added someone that's really good. So it's going to be a tough battle. But I think that, like Advait said before, I'm just happy we have a decent, really good coaching now that we can maybe, try to go against Matt LaFleur now. It's like an even playing field instead of having like, Matt Eberflus and Thomas Brown. Even though Thomas Brown did beat Matt LaFleur, like, we all know that like he's not that good of a head coach. So, I think that we'll still be competitive against them, and I think we can still win a game against them. I don't think they're like some unbeatable juggernaut now. There's a lot of things that have to go right for them to be a Super Bowl contender still, but it does definitely bring them. This move does bring them a step closer, I feel like, to the Super Bowl. So, I hate to say it again. We're Bears fans, obviously, but we have to be objective sometimes. And yeah, they are going to be a really good team, and they're going to probably win the North. I feel like them or the Lions.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, and the thing is, now it's going to be a whole. The thing is, what's interesting about this iteration of the NFC North is that every team in this division like has a strong side to them. Ben Johnson with potential, with a great offense and a very uniquely schemed offense. At Kevin O'Connell, again, another good offensive juggernaut team with a defensive juggernaut too. The question mark is at QB. What else is there? Detroit improved their team so much that they were Super Bowl contenders last year, 15-2. It's a big question of like their defensive health and their quarterback in Jared Goff. And then the Packers, who just added to their edge rushing depth and, have a relatively potent offense, but a questionable secondary. So like every team has its strong side, but also a relatively strong weak side. Like the Bears have D-line is a big question mark. Left tackle is a big question mark. So I think personally, it's going to be a big race now. I think this trade actually, in a weird way, evens the playing field in a sense where it's like every division game is going to be must-see TV at this point. Obviously our weaknesses are going to show, but it's going to be a scrap, I think. And that's what makes for good TV as well. And if anything, if the Bears, claw their way through multiple games and can win some of these games and like kind of split against the Packers, win or a couple of games against, either the Vikings or the Lions, like that would be good for us specifically because that shows that we are all competitive, relatively speaking. And I'm just really looking forward to, like, if there's a silver lining to anything, like, it's going to be really fun, especially divisional games are going to be really fun. The only issue I have is that we have to face Aiden Hutchinson once or twice a year and Micah Parsons twice a year. And I forgot who their edge rusher is on
Grenard, and
Grenard.
Van Ginkel. Like Van Ginkel's like he's tough. Like
Yeah, he's tough. Yeah,
he's
but
like,
like,
he's like
yeah, it's I'm glad. That's the thing. Like, and all two of you have said, like, I'm just glad we have a relatively competent coaching staff this time around, because had this happened and we retained Eberflus again, oh man, we're losing the division easily. Like, there's no way, no shot, no, like, there's no, like, saying anything about this.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
And
I
the thing
mean-
is, like, a lot of those games that we lost, even last year, like against the Vikings, against the Lions, and stuff like that, it was close. Like, it was a close game. It was just a matter of coaching at the end of the day. And I just think that the Bears, if they want to be competitive on the defensive side, especially if they want to, add to Dennis Allen's scheme and make it more effective, they have to go for some kind of edge rusher to fill the void in that spot, because you have to give Montez Sweat some kind of help at this point, especially after a year coming off an injury, coming off of zero help. Another year of doing that is just malpractice in my book. And, with Austin Booker being on IR and all that. And I was talking to CV about this prior to the podcast, and this is going back to the whole Parsons trade from Dallas. This eerily reminds me, and I know it's not apples to apples per se, but it's like kind of similar. Micah Parsons trade, or like leaving the Cowboys with the deal on the table, is kind of like how Kevin Durant went from the Oklahoma City Thunder to the Golden State Warriors. And hear me out when I say that, okay? Micah, lost to the Green Bay Packers in 2023-2024 season in the playoffs at AT&T Stadium, embarrassed, and Kevin Durant on the Oklahoma City Thunder got embarrassed by blowing a 3-1 lead to the team that went to the eventual championship. And from their point, he was very, what is it called? He was very adamant on leaving, and he was very adamant on leaving.
Me off, aren't you?
You gotta rage bait a little bit, but anyway, like you gotta also, Micah not happy with the organization and the direction that they were going, like, and the ownership group as well. And similarly, Kevin Durant not happy with the personnel, like Russell Westbrook, and wanting a chance to win a title somewhere else. And he eventually forces his way out, just like Micah Parsons forces his way out, and goes to a team that beat him, which is the Green Bay Packers, and Kevin Durant went to a team that beat him, which is the Golden State Warriors.
I actually have to disagree. I gotta disagree with you on that one, because I think Micah Parsons genuinely wanted to be a Cowboy. There's a difference.
No, he did. I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm just saying the whole. Even Kevin Durant, I assume, wanted to be an Oklahoma City Thunder for, like, he wanted to be, but when he was up 3-1, it's just that the whole thing about winning a championship, he can't win with Russell Westbrook. He can't win like that. And so he wasn't happy with Sam Presti as well.
I disagree with that, because that doesn't because when Kevin Durant left the Thunder, it wasn't because he didn't want to be he wanted to be a Thunder, he wanted to stay on the team. It's because he wanted to win a ring. He wanted to win a championship. Micah Parsons has said multiple times that he wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy. There's a difference. Like, he wanted to be a Cowboy for life. It's just a contract situation. Kevin Durant never dealt with contract situations, like contract holdout or anything with the Thunder. The Thunder obviously going to give him whatever he asked. The thing is, he left because he wanted to win a ring. Micah Parsons, I don't think, first of all, wanted to go to the Packers. Jerry just chose a team that was the best for the Cowboys, trade package. So I don't think they're apples to apple, in my opinion, because I don't think Micah Parsons is looking at this oh yeah, I have to go to the Packers to win a Super Bowl. I can't win with the Cowboys. Because if we all know one thing, Micah Parsons has a podcast and he always overrates his team. He's like, oh, we're going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to make the Super Bowl, which he should. So I don't think that, in my opinion, it's the same because he wanted to stay with the Cowboys for life. Like he wanted to be a Cowboy no matter what. It's just the contract did not work out, in my opinion.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they're apples to apples per se. I'm just saying like it's just funny that, a star player, like, had this whole thing and ends up being on the team that absolutely like beat them down. So like, I mean, in that sense, it's kind of similar, but I'm just, it just sucks that he has to be on the Packers. But let's go on to like another kind of topic of discussion now. So where does this put, like, in terms of the Bears? Like, do you think that this like drastically affects our spot in the division now, or do you think that we're going to be relatively the same in terms of our predictions? Well, Stevie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, obviously the games that we're not playing against them, no, but I mean, like I said earlier, the small silver lining here is whatever, if there was going to be a loss to the Cowboys, I think for sure we got to beat them now without Parsons. And I think maybe you can trade that win for the loss that you're going to probably suffer against the Packers, which obviously we don't want to do, but it's probably what's going to happen. I don't see us sweeping. I don't. I mean, could it happen? Sure. Yeah. Because now we got an actual coach, and, we hope that this dude is actually good.
Yeah.
And we hope that Caleb's good. I will say, if I had to think about like roster to roster and what is going to actually happen, right? Because what scares me even more so than sometimes than Micah Parsons is the coaching. And we've seen with good coaching and good players, a lot of good things can happen. And, the coaching can elevate the players itself and put them in better positions. That's why, we're not shutting down the whole roster after last season. We have actually kept most of the people and added on to it, aside from the offensive line, of course. But, we kept all the good players and we added a good coaching, because it wasn't really the players' problem. It was the coaching. So for the Bears, when it comes to Micah Parsons, the silver lining here is that aside from Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary, their interior pass rush or maybe even run stopping abilities kind of suspect. Devontae Wyatt, solid. I don't think he's amazing. They got Carl Brooks, whatever, Nazir Stackhouse, Kobe Wooden. I guess their linebackers are solid. I like Edgerrin Cooper. I like what he showed a little bit.
Yeah.
Isaiah McDuffie was solid as well. That's it. I wouldn't say any of those either guys are better than TJ Edwards, to be honest. I think we were fine there. We're not. This isn't going to be. This isn't the same as 2018 where this turns the Packers into the 2018 Bears. I don't think they're going to be that good. We were just solid on absolutely every front. So I guess that's fine. And I'm interested to see what Ben Johnson, how he's going to attack that.
Yeah.
If he's going to constantly double Micah Parsons. And the way I kind of imagine it is if he's lined up on the left side over Braxton Jones, you're probably going to see a shift out there. You're probably going to have someone chipping like the tight end. Braxton Jones, maybe Joe Tooney. If he decides to go inside, you're probably going to have them doubled up on him. And with Joe Tooney help, then I can see, him being shut down. If Rashawn Gary's on the other side, I trust Darnell Wright to be able to handle that one-on-one. And then your interior is just fine. At that point, with that game plan, yes, then all of a sudden, Micah Parsons isn't too effective. Because we've seen Micah Parsons be neutralized. He's not God. Like, he can be slowed down. Like I made a point and I forgot whose podcast it was, but if you look at like the past Super Bowl winners, we haven't seen a lot of like elite edge rushers win a ring. TJ Watt doesn't win a ring. Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson.
I guess Aaron Donald is the exception. I guess.
Yeah. So I'm talking about edge rushers, right? So then my point was going to be defensive tackles like Chris Jones, Aaron Donald, and I forgot one more.
What about Karlaftis? What about him?
He's not elite, bro. He's not elite, bro. We're talking about elite. I'm talking about like elite, like tier one pass rusher. He's okay. He's not elite, bro. He's above average. I'll give him his flowers on that, but he's nowhere near Micah Parsons. But my point is that Micah Parsons doesn't turn this into like the 85 Bears or something like that, or Steel Curtain or the 2013 Seahawks. It makes them a pretty solid team, and it gives them a chance to run for the division because of the good coaching they have, because Jordan Love is a solid quarterback. But we kind of go back to the conversation of the quarterback. Is he good enough to win a ring? I don't think so. That's the thing. I do not think Jordan Love is good enough to win a ring, especially not with how incomplete their secondary is too. Like how you said earlier, if they had Jair, maybe, or like a prime Jair, then maybe we could talk about, them making a push for a Super Bowl or making a deep playoff push. But you put, we've
They have Nate
seen
Hobbs. They have Nate Hobbs.
Hobbs is good, but once again, these are players.
Yeah.
This is what I mean about some players that like they're not too good by themselves, but they're good if they have someone better than them next to them.
Oh yeah, by the way.
Go ahead.
Oh no, Fish just point. Sorry, my bad. I was gonna say Von Miller was like the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. No, that's. So the last person to do that, I was doing research on that. The last one was Von Miller. So it's So it's been a while, but I don't think Jordan Love with this roster currently is good enough to bring this team to a Super Bowl. But what I will say, and what I mentioned to my coworker earlier, there were a few issues, obviously, with the team last year with the Packers. Two of them that stick out to me a lot was their lack of pass rush. They were, a lot of people don't talk about it, but they were just about as bad as us when it came to pass rush. That's why in the first game against Green Bay, I don't think, actually, if I look back on it, they didn't sack us not one time until the last drive where Caleb Williams came back and our kick was blocked. And they went back-to-back sacks. So their defensive line we handled last year pretty easily, which is one of the few teams, probably the only team where we handled their defensive line. But to the other point, or to the other issue that they have, they lacked a wide receiver one. What did they do? They drafted Matthew Golden. Now, is Matthew Golden going to be great? We don't know. We're going to have to wait for the season to come around. But Matt LaFleur is a great head coach. Once again, you need good coaching. And with Matthew Golden and what he's shown out so far in preseason and practice, and yes, I know it's not regular season games, but he's trending in the right direction. And when you've got a capable quarterback with a pretty good head coach, with a guy who's drafted in the first round, it can scare you a little bit. So do I think Matthew Golden's the next Justin Jefferson? No, but I mean, man, you mix up these schemes together with the depth they have at wide receiver too. I don't know, man. You're talking about a team that can compete for the division, and this puts the Bears in a tough situation because now when you add more teams to the NFC that can take that last wild card spot, because last year a 13-win team was a wild card team, and we never saw that in NFL history, and that was in our division. 2 teams in our division. That was like the only other time. 14 wins, yes. Look at that.
Yeah,
so even more. So, and those teams didn't change much. If anything, all these other teams got better. So, you replaced the Cowboys who didn't even make the playoffs last year. What am I even talking about? You're not even replacing anybody. You're adding on to a team that could do even better and could be the reason why we don't make the playoffs. And I'm not saying necessarily that is do or die for us to make the playoffs. Like if we have 10 wins next year and we don't make the playoffs, I'm still happy with that. We just happen to be in a shitty situation, but it would suck, right? It would suck if you're at 10 wins or you're at 9 wins and you were so close to beating the Packers and you look back on this trade and you're like, Ryan Poles, if you would have gotten this guy, even if it wouldn't have made the most sense, why allow the Packers of all teams to do it? Why them? Even the Lions, the Vikings, I said this before the podcast, I could live with them. I would have, at least with the Lions, you understand they're a great team. The Vikings are essentially a rookie quarterback. I'm not really too scared of that. But the Packers, bro, are you kidding me? Out of every NFL team, I would not have cared if you went to the damn Eagles. I would not have cared. It would have sucked as a fan watching that, but I would not have cared because it would have been away from our division. And now when we already had to deal with Brian Flores blitzing defense and Aiden Hutchinson on that D-line, you add Tyler Williams and Ali McNeil to that D-line as well. And now you've got to deal with Micah Parsons too. Like, I'll say this. Ben Johnson, if he's able to handle this, he's the real deal. Regardless of what happens this season.
Oh, yeah.
If he's able to handle this and he's able to go against this, and, iron sharpened iron. So if maybe this can sort of be a blessing in disguise where, if he's able to handle the division, he can pretty much handle everybody else. Because outside of our division in the NFC, the only other team that really scares me more than the Lions, the Packers, Vikings really is the Eagles. The Commanders, okay, sure, but their moves have been questionable too. I'm not really a big fan of what they've done this offseason and their defense. But outside of the Eagles, there's really nobody else in the NFC that's
Where were the Rams?
The Rams, yes, okay, sorry. You're the Ram. I do have a ton of respect for Matthew Stafford. So yes, the Rams do scare me along with Jared Verse. What he showed, he's going to be a dog. So aside from those two teams, out of every NFC team, literally
Bucs?
those are the only team, not really the Bucs, to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. That defense is kind of regressing.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
and Mike Evans too. I feel like because you look at Keenan Allen, right? Like he was on pace for 1,700 yards in 2023. Came to the Bears, looked a lot like he still did solid, but he didn't do as good. So age can catch up to you. So my point being is that if you can handle the division, you can handle the rest of pretty much the entirety of the NFC or the NFC in general. So I hope. At the end of the day, no excuses, right? Trades are going to happen. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows for the Bears. You're not going to be, oh, well, we didn't expect the fucking Packers to trade for Micah Parsons. Damn, dude. Like, what are we going to do now? We're going to suck this year. No, you still got to go out and win, dude. So what? That's the NFL. You're going to have more teams, more players. So Ben Johnson, buckle up, strap in, do what you got to do to game plan against them. You've got, 14 weeks? We face them later in the season. So hopefully that gives you enough time to figure out who our left tackle is or, just get more chemistry down, which actually could help the Bears because, you're talking about chemistry now. We've got a lot of new players on the offensive line, and I've made this prediction before. We may not be that good pre-bye. We may not be good just because all these players got to get time to gel together and sort of gain that chemistry. But now over there in Week 14 when we face the Packers, everything's got to be clicking. Everyone's got to know each other. Everyone's got to understand how to move around the offensive line. And you got all that time to figure out how to deal with a guy like Micah Parsons. And you're going to kind of get that practice of going against Aiden Hutchinson. So,
yeah.
I know it's a little longer of a rant there. I'll pass that to somebody else. But I think it does affect us, but not enough to where it just like derails the season. So that's kind of like my.
I gotta leave. So right now, but thank you. I gotta go.
All right, we'll see you.
See you, man.
Well, yeah, let's go on to Advait. Let's get him chimed in because he's been it's off the pod for a while. So let's we were talking about what are your thoughts on how did this trade affect the Chicago Bears season outlook going forward? You probably heard a decent amount of what CV had to say, so I just want to get your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I heard all of it. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I heard all of it. Yeah, I think that compared to where we were before, compared to where we are now, I think it definitely moves the needle towards the Packers a lot. But I don't think it's like impossible for us to at least split one of the games. I still think that had the Packers not traded for Micah, we probably would have split at least one of those games. But again, like I think that Ben Johnson is the deciding factor here, because he can scheme and he kind of do what like the 49ers did, like double blocking, finding a way to make sure that my guy does not get to Caleb, which you didn't really have last year. You didn't really have a offensive mind like Ben Johnson at the helm to combat against those blitzes. Like, if I'm not mistaken, Caleb is pretty good against the blitzes. And when the Lions play the Vikings and they're a heavy blitz team with Brian Flores, they did really, really well. And I believe the Packers play in the zone something. I saw this somewhere. I'll try to find it later. I think Ben Johnson will have a plan. I'm not too worried. It just sucks. It hurts. It's kind of it hurts that a trade like this went down and we didn't really do anything. You kind of go back to 2018 and you're like, well, we traded for Khalil Mack, and I don't think, as CB said, I don't think the Packers defense is going to be as good as in 2018. I mean, they have Bo Milton playing DB right now. So not to worry. I mean, with us, you had Prince Amukamara, Kyle Fuller. You had, if I'm not mistaken, Adrian Amos and Eddie Jackson playing safeties. I mean, that was stacked from the defensive line to the safeties. That was stacked. We had a stacked defense, and we still really didn't do much. And I don't think Jordan Love is like this elite quarterback that, had we traded for Caleb, yeah, we could have probably won the chip. But it just kind of sucks at the end of the day that, you had a premier talent, guys like Micah Parsons aren't really on the table. that often. And edge is one of our biggest needs. I kind of just, I still go back to free agency and I'm like, why did we sign Deo, right? He's only been a 5'8" sack guy. And, had we not signed him, he would have had probably the cap room to pull off a trade like this. At the same time, he will not have had an edge. But looking at, next year's class, I think it's pretty promising. Um, you have a guy like TJ Parker from Clemson, Keldrick Folk, Peter Woods, Ruben Bain Jr., LT Overton. Those are all pretty good edges. I think this might be a better edge class than last year's. We'll see. So hopefully we can nail and get one of those guys and they can turn out to be a star. Or, as CB said, this team can look entirely different by the time we play the Packers. Maybe we trade for a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau. Um, this just sucks, wish any other team but the Packers. But hey, hopefully we beat them twice a year. It'll only be that much sweeter.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because, man, it's really like one trade alone can really change the outcome of an entire season at this point. Because we're all under the assumption that the Packers defense, they're one edge rusher away. Their secondary isn't as good, holistically, because they're trying out Bo Melton to be their a corner as well. So that's like a big question mark. But adding Micah Parsons to your team, I know we've beat this, this point over and over again. It really does make them a really competitive defense at the end of the day. And I hate to say it as a Bears fan, it just sucks, But I think overall it does give us, quality games per se too, because it won't be like we're dominating one person's defense or one team's defense. Everyone in this division has a relatively decent defense. The big question mark for me for the Chicago Bears obviously is still left tackle, and the fact that we have Braxton Jones. That really freaks me out a little bit because of the amount of film I've seen him get pancaked on the floor, just get absolutely bull rushed. Even in preseason too, like you can't be losing your battles in preseason. Like that should not happen if you're trying to be left tackle one. And that's what's the reason why Ben Johnson's having a tough time in the first place. Obviously, Ozzy Trapillo is having, a roadblock right now. I'm not really sure exactly what that roadblock is per se.
It's like a rookie wall.
Yeah, rookie wall. So it's like, that's a whole shebang as well. And it's just really frustrating because it's like we're so close to completing this offensive line. And it's always that one thing. The one thing that could break this offensive line is this left tackle position. And we're just hoping that there's an answer somehow by the time the week 1 rolls around, or even better yet, week 2 or week 3, because we need to get that answer fast. And especially with Brian Flores and, now at the Green Bay Packers and now the Detroit Lions, all three of them have blitzing defense or blitz packages that are going to definitely target Braxton Jones. And listen, Braxton Jones, 3-year vet, like not the worst left tackle we've ever seen or anything like that. Yeah. It's just that for the expectation right now for the Chicago Bears has been a lot higher now. We added Ben Johnson. We added a ton of depth to the offensive line, whether it's center, whether it's the guard position and the right tackle position, because we have Ozzy Trapillo. It's the that one spot is what's going to be the key to everyone's defensive schemes against us. That's what worries me the most, more than the D line too, because when you're trying to scheme for Caleb Williams to develop him and trying to make him grow into the quarterback that we so desperately desire him to be, that's going to be something that it's going to have to be considered with Ben Johnson. He definitely knows at this point that, hey, someone's coming hot on your left side. You have to always be careful about that too, because we don't have full protection, or the protection schemes like moving right, moving left. Like you have to know in and out your offensive line and their strengths and weaknesses. That's what I think going to make or break this offense, like in terms of their scheme, because that also affects the run game, that affects play action, that affects even people like Caleb Williams in shotgun. Like there's so many factors, and especially with that's why having a complete offensive line is so important for a development standpoint. And I really hope Ben Johnson becomes innovative enough to figure something to circumvent that. That's my hope at the end of the day, because this trade makes this division a lot more competitive defensively, and you have to definitely take that into consideration. Yeah, that's really all I got, because there's I mean,
no, I was gonna say real quick about left tackle. I think about it a little bit more. I'm not too worried about Braxton Jones because, like how you said earlier, Braxton Jones is not the worst left tackle. Like, you can do a lot worse than Braxton Jones. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
For Ozzy Trapillo, I said this in a tweet before. I think you might have seen it. Why are we expecting Ozzy Trapillo to be Joe Alt right away? Did we forget that he was drafted in damn near the 3rd round? I don't understand what is up with Bears fans, because I remember clear as day when Darnell Wright was a rookie. He was a top 10 pick, and he struggled early on. I remember specifically he got worked against Chris Jones, who lined up at edge. Now, Chris Jones is a defensive tackle, and he still worked Darnell Wright because he was still learning. It was his 3rd NFL game ever. We haven't even got to the regular season yet, and we're expecting Ozzy Trapillo, a guy who was drafted in the later 2nd round, to have immediate success. Like, we're so addicted to this like immediate success BS, like Joe Alls and Jaden Daniels and them. Like, that's not how it's going to happen. What I expect to happen this year is Trapillo gets redshirted. Braxton Jones goes ahead and starts. He is very capable. Yes, he's going to have some upsetting moments. You're going to see it multiple times. He's also going to have very good games. He's going to have games like last year against the Lions. He allowed 0 pressures and 0 hurries and everything. He played very good that game, a Thanksgiving game that is. And he was like, he'll have those moments. He'll be up and down. That's what you're getting with Braxton Jones. But you're not getting Karan Amagaji out there, like rookie Karan Amagaji. You're not getting some just terrible left tackle. You have to remember the rest of the offensive line is still fine. And if need be, Joe Tooney will slide over and protect him and kind of cover him because he's a smart player. He's one of the best in the business. And, Braxton Jones will start there. Come 2026, Jones is a free agent. We likely don't re-sign him unless he has like an all-pro year or something, which, we hope he does. Probably not going to happen. Trapillo will come back to that conversation and we'll say, hey, we'll see what your development's looking like. Okay, maybe you're not as good as we thought. We drafted a left tackle in the 1st round. Or, hey, you're ready. We're going to go ahead and throw you a left tackle. Like this, like people think like this is the season we have to win it all. We're not. This season goes past 2026, or 2025. So, if we have 4 of the pieces down the offensive line and all we got to do is attack left tackle, fine. We were at a point where we had nothing. We literally had Braxton Jones at one point on the offensive line. We didn't even have Darnell Wright. So we'll be fine. Like, I don't think, we're not putting some rookie left tackle against Micah Parsons. We're not having just like nobody out there. Micah Parsons will still get home because he's Micah Parsons, but he's not going to get home 6 times a game and break the sack record. It's just like, let's be for real. We're offensive line. We did good. We're fine with that. He's not going to get as much pressure. We've seen Parsons neutralized before. He's like I said, he's not God. And I'm pretty sure Ben Johnson's going to study the tape and see, okay, what did teams like the Eagles or 49ers do? Because those are the 2 teams that come to mind when I think about who's actually stopped Micah Parsons.
Right.
What did they do other than, their tackles being super good? What did they do to stop Micah Parsons? It's not just one player. It's a team effort. So I think, like, I'm just going to say this real quick because I do got to head out. But this doesn't change, the expectation for the Bears in terms of, like, how successful we should be. Caleb Williams is still, remember, a mobile quarterback. We don't have Jared Goff. I don't think it's easy to escape Micah Parsons because he's literally one of the fastest people on the field at all times. As a defensive end is crazy.
Right.
But, when you have to get around a big player and you're getting pushed by him, and if he doesn't turn the corner correctly, Caleb Williams, all you got to do is just step up. And we've got a really good interior. And part of the reason why he wasn't able to do that last year is because our interior was actual dog water last year. So he was just running into sacks all the time. Now that you've got that, and what we've seen in preseason is our offensive line looks really good from the interior. So you have the edge rushers going in, and they're going to get home sometimes, step up, maybe run, get to the outside, whatever, and all of a sudden Micah Parsons is not that big of a problem. So yeah, I exaggerated a little bit before, but kind of calming down a little bit. This doesn't make them Super Bowl contenders unless Jordan Love just has an absolute leap year, which I hope to God doesn't happen. I still think the Lions win the division, but I do think that does make them a better team for sure. I don't think we sweep them now. I will say that. I don't think we sweep the Packers anymore. And there is a chance we do get swept, but that's just because they're the Packers. They play us really hard. There's a chance we could sweep them because we play them really hard. Because even with the Lions last year, we came really close to beating them. And in 2023, a season where we had 7 wins, we should have beat them twice, the Lions. So we can do it. We've been in much worse situations and come very close to victories. And this is probably, we're walking into one of the better situations we've almost ever had in Bears history. Come on. There's no excuse here. No excuse. We still gotta win. You still gotta win. But I gotta head out for this one, but we'll be fine. Bear down.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's get quickly. Advait, you can go, and then we'll call it the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, kind of just saying what CB said, I'll kind of leave it on a positive note. I don't think like my guy Parsons is gonna make, the Packers go all of a sudden from this team that, we thought, hey, we can potentially lead them to this team with like, hey, we got no chance. I think you still have a chance. You still have as much, if not an even better chance to beat them now because, they're not gonna have 2 first-round picks. The UBs are still pretty bad. And you have Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson is the X factor here. You have very good offensive linemen in Jonah Jackson, and Joe Thuney to help out Brax or to help out Darnell on the other side. And I think that we'll be fine. At the end of the day, does this hurt? Does this hurt the Bears? Yeah, it does. And I think it does take them back a little bit. But I feel like, it's only going to make us better. It's only going to make Ryan Post be more aggressive. Maybe he shocks us all and pulls up some kind of trade, in this next week or in the trade deadline. We'll see. But yeah, this does hurt. But, we'll see what comes out of it. I think everything happens for a reason. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it and a great way to end the podcast on a positive note. Again, appreciate you guys for watching. If you made it this far into the episode, always thank you for so much for tuning in, especially on an emergency podcast like this. Appreciate Advait, CV, and my brother to showing up as usual. We have an episode going out tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you really enjoyed this kind of content, feel free to stop by and chat. We're going to have a special guest on as well. Again, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Always remember to like and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 700 subscribers by the end of this month. I know we can do that together. So thank you again, Advait, for coming on to this podcast. And that's going to do it for today's episode. And as always, guys, we'll see you guys in the next one.